I've been watching tons of Let's Play videos lately, and even plenty of history or documentaries on the Pokémon franchise. This really put me in the mood for some single-player Pokémon goodness, and I decided to go back to the past and complete Pokémon Pearl. Why Pearl? Well, for some reason, it was the only game in the main series that I had yet completed. Being the Poké freak that I am, this was simply unacceptable. Here's what I thought of the game. RPGs in general can be as tough or easy as you want them to be. Simply grinding to your heart's content and the game shouldn't pose much of a challenge. Being a series veteran, Pearl surprised the heck out of me. If you've listened to previous podcasts or read some of my work on Pokémon, you might be familiar with my displeasure of the difficulty of recent entries. I've made it clear how Game Freak could change this with a few simple modifications. Apparently, they could also simply follow Pearl and Diamond's structure and the single-player problems would be mostly fixed. This was the most challenging Pokémon game I've played since the originals. Leveling up takes forever and trainers actually carry a decent amount of Pokémon for the most part. But what really surprised me was the diversity of Pokémon each gym leader or Elite Four member had in their team. You can't hope to win by spawning the same move now, as most of them will have 2, 3 or even more different types in their team, forcing you to switch out pokes left and right. Even better, the Elite Four had Pokémon that were 5 to 10 levels higher than my top Pokémon in my party. You could make a case about Pearl and Diamond having the best starters in franchise history. Infernape, Tordera and Empoleon are simply kick-ass Pokémon. Just look at their designs. They look like warriors and all have unique drawings. Their types are not too shabby either. While firefighting was seen before in Generation 3, Empoleon is the only water steel type I know. I really like all the HMs present in Pearl and Diamond. While many have complained about this issue, I thought it complemented the game very well. Sure, it forces you to bring HM slaves, but at the same time, some of these moves like Surf and Strength are not half bad and good additions to a Pokémon's moveset. I also liked how it creates a mental picture and adds replayability, as many areas you have to come back and revisit once you get the proper ability. Speaking of replay value, the Battle Tower from Pokémon Crystal makes a welcome return, and there's also tons of legendaries you can only capture after completing the main game. Expect to invest many hours if you want to see everything there's to offer. Pearl and Diamond have a few rough patches. This is probably the worst storyline in the franchise after X and Y. It's basically non-existent, and the final epic showdown versus Team Galactic is ruined when the leader tries to actually destroy the world by challenging you to a battle with only 4 Pokémon in his party. Also, for some reason, Game Freak decided that the health bar speed during battles should be lowered tremendously. I'm not sure if they thought this would make the battles more epic, but all it does is make them somewhat more annoying. Also, surfing is also extremely slow. Even though at this point there was already more than 400 Pokémon to capture, I was finding Geodudes and Starlies 6 hours into the game. This is a huge contrast to X and Y, who really nailed this area by giving you 4 or 5 new Pokémon encounters in every new patch of grass. Sadly, Pearl and Diamond fails in this area. I'm extremely passionate about this series, and I encourage you to go read my full written review at projectcoe.com. The link will be in the description. I always go into so much more detail with Pokémon, and the review really gives you the full picture. To conclude, I found Pokémon Pearl to be an extremely enjoyable adventure and one that every portable gamer out there should experience at least once. Be sure to keep it locked to Project COE for more unique content. Thanks for watching.